the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
For OSP, a year office of the special prosecutor, and then just say an annual da ever to be a panel at the end pennyful a jinahua. What your woman for you need your maba, say and pennyfono, Msika DB Akoso or Ma Akachi, a year warm offices. Now Mustapha Hamids, a year and just say the lawyer about thing. I send a strong warning at the amount a year OSP, and just a seminar, the lawyer and the kind of one a camera quay say a yakwa threaten and all threaten a year OSP. Free say or just and seminar OSP, a kind of champion for no, and yano crap, until it's a 1 year, warm a coming after him, and just a OSP. Yes, Sunday is a strong caution at the amount. Now, my perceive a Konya could see Mustapha Hamids, the lawyer, non someone to get.
You see, you ought to be extremely careful in life because all of us, probably today, are thinking that it is Mustapha Hamids. And I keep on saying that if you are not on a solid grounding, you don't come to brief the public about a person based on certain mere allegations that you have heard or you have against the person without further checking to get evidence that will nail the person.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, you started a story with embezzlement, 1.3 billion. Suddenly it is dead. You've moved to extortion. And you're not talking about using his office for private gain and etc. As I said, we are not going to sit here and discuss the merits of the matter. But I can tell you that as you have indicated, if it doesn't take time, there will be a technical knockout again.
Technical knockout?
Yes. In court.
That's a threat.
No, yes. And of course, I mean, that technical knockout, if it is a threat at all, it's a positive threat. You know, Paul, you see, there's something that we are all running away from. And I think that we need to face the bull by the horn. That office, he is not going to work there till he retires. It is for a 7-year period. All right? And he should remember that even he himself will account, especially when he's left office. For now, when the frog is actually alive, as you have rightly indicated, you may not know the length. So I want to caution that you need to exercise your right with caution and circumspection insofar as it concerns the right of individuals. Paul, if you go to our fundamental human rights section of the Constitution, chapter 5, and the way it was crafted, right from Article 12 all the way to Article 30 thereof, you will see that we're minded of our history. Most of the things that are found, especially if you look at Article 14, Article 17, and Article 19, the human rights provisions there are as a result of our historical antecedents. So if you make allegations and feed an innocent person to the public, generate hatred, dislike for that particular person, and then it turns out later that the things that you allege against the person are false, are without basis, are legless, are without any support, what are you going to do to restore the integrity of the person? That would be a problem. So that's why I said you should hasten slowly. Because remember that there are people who read the story about the embezzlement of 1.3 billion who may not have another opportunity to read the story that that particular allegation no longer holds. But that it is 280, it's no longer embezzlement, it is extortion. And it is using office for private gain and etc. There are people who read the previous one, but will not have opportunity to read this, and will have certain conclusions about the person. He comes to pass, and they begin to point fingers at him that he's a corrupt person. That is not good enough. The court of public opinion and that public trial that we engage in order to court sympathy from the public and disaffection against individuals and persons are most unfortunate. And I think that if the special prosecutor wants to exhibit his legal prowess, okay, how legally he's jingoistic and etc., he should garner his arsenals, garner everything, move to court, and prove the guilt of the individual. And thereafter we'll clap for him. Rather than engaging in media warfare to tarnish the hard-won reputation of people. That would be most unfortunate. So I'm cautioning that in exercising his right under the Special Prosecutors Act, he ought to know that those rights he's exercising will end at certain places where the rights of others will be triggered. And that's very important. So our position is very clear. that our client is innocent of the charges leveled against him. They are all charges that have been put together as a result of a long period of fishing. And when they are put to test in a court of law, we will find that they will come crumbling. We have no doubt in our minds that our client, as it stands, is innocent of the charges.
So he hasn't extorted money from anyone?
He hasn't extorted money from anyone, and he has no history of ever extorting money from anyone. In any case, let me state again, without equivocation, that the allegations against our client, even the extortion, there is no direct evidence that our client extorted money from anybody. They are even alleging that somebody else did extortion and gave some money to our client. That's what they are alleging. Not that they are even alleging that we did extort money from anybody.
Also, they're saying he benefited from somebody's
extortion. From the facts that we have gathered. We are waiting for the charge sheet and the facts. And the appropriate steps, legal, will be taken to vindicate the rights of our client. And we have no doubt that...
He's telling the MPP something. What is he saying? It's related to the performance of the economy under the NDC, which many people applaud so far, that the NDC has done fantastic with the economy over the last 6 months. But Amin Anta has a message. On his letterhead as a member of parliament for Karaga constituency, he says that MPP must regroup quickly as NDC policies fail. Why does Mohammed Amin Anta, the former finance minister and also the former minister of state at energy, think that the NDC policy is failing and so MPP must regroup? This is what he says. He says, it is not unusual for a party defeated in elections 7 months ago to face the internal problems we are currently experiencing. This is a phase that will undoubtedly pass. The new patriotic party will rediscover its winning formula well ahead of the next general election. Unsurprisingly, our opponents, the NDC, have so far failed to demonstrate the competence needed to meet the expectations of the majority of Ghanaians. The goodwill they enjoyed at the outset of the administration is rapidly eroding under the weight of failing policies. Is it not too early for Amin to say that? Anyway, let's listen to him. Over the last 6 months, he says, we have seen taxes increased and extensions of taxes that were due to end this year, with the latest increase in the Dumsor levy coming into force today, July 16, 2025. The government has refused to heed the plea of Ghanaians, including transport associations, regarding the potential increase in transport fares due to the levy. This levy will worsen the cost of living for Ghanaians. We have also seen the dismissal of innocent Ghanaian youth from employment and heightened insecurity. It is deeply troubling to learn that a government that promised jobs will implement measures that takes jobs away from the very people who voted them into office. If you have recently lost your job, please know that the NDC has abandoned you and shows little concern for your welfare. The future MPP government will restore your jobs and bring back dignity to the young people of our country. Notwithstanding the artificial boost in the value of the cedi, prices for goods and services remain very high. Electricity tariffs have also doubled, resulting in a total of 17%. With only 10% rise in basic wages, Ghanaians can no longer rely on their disposable income to support their families. Not only are the false narratives about the economy they inherited being dismantled, but their attempts to win the sympathy of the people of Ghana through propagandist economic figures is also crumbling before their very eyes. Despite the denial by the governor of the Bank of Ghana regarding the intervention in the forex market, the International Monetary Fund's latest staff report revealed that the bank intervened with 1.4 billion in the first quarter of 2025. This confirms our assertion that the intervention was supported by international foreign reserves accumulated by the previous MPP government. Additionally, the large accumulation of non-existent payables used to generate a high primary fiscal deficit for 2024, based on which they claim there was a breach in the IMF program, can no longer stand. We don't understand this part. I mean, this is a bit too technical economics. The large accumulated of the non-existence payable used to generate high primary fiscal. Hey, Mohammed, I mean, not all of us are economists, though. Anyway, let's move on. As the IMF report has uncovered troubling findings from an initial audit, it shows that a significant share of such payables may not be supported by valid documentation, suggesting the amount may be revised downward and a better fiscal outcome could eventually emerge. After claiming high market confidence in the economy at the start of the year due to oversubscription of government papers, the market has now shown that policy inconsistency can cause multiple auction failures. Out of a total of 28 treasury auctions held from January 3rd, 2025 to July 11, 2025, 13 auctions failed to meet the target, with bid cover ratios below 1.0. Despite high participation earlier in the year, these auction failures indicate investor fatigue as the government continues to manipulate rates at the auctions to undermine price discovery. The failure also suggests a declining investor appetite for government securities, partly due to policy uncertainty. The government must proceed cautiously in its efforts to reopen the bond market, especially in the light of the recent debt exchange program. As the government aims to mitigate risk in the debt portfolio by extending its maturity profile, it must do so responsibly to avoid jeopardizing the significant progress made in restoring debt sustainability through our successful external debt restructuring. The government must ensure that investors, particularly pension funds, are not unfairly pressured to participate in the bond market. They should do so based on a balanced consideration of cost and risk. Additionally, the credibility of the government financing commitment cannot be assured. The 2025 budget projection projects a financing of 56.91 billion for 2025, including net domestic financing 36.99 billion and foreign net 21.41 billion. As of 11 July 2025, auction data indicates over 6 billion in repayment as the government reallocates resources from vital sectors of the economy to cover auction shortfalls. This situation, he says, raises serious questions about the reliability of financing assumptions. As a result, many flagship programs of the government remain underfunded as ministers openly express frustration over cash flow constraints even for budget lines approved by Parliament. It is worth noting that the government is only now planning to pay contractors using a loan it is obtaining from the World Bank, despite the Ghana Revenue Authority exceeding its half-year revenue target by approximately 4 billion cedis. Also, the 24-hour economy program remains a theoretical construct with attractive visuals, reminiscent of the famous Green Book from the last NDC government. As the government has not allocated a budget for its realization, the launch of the program recently was meant to play to the gallery, as it is practically difficult to realize the objectives of a program that has no dedicated source of funding. I advise the Minister for Finance to utilize the mid-year budget review to clarify the government's financing strategy for the program and the economy. These and many other reasons demonstrate that the NDC's fanciful attempts to show courage in the face of unredeemable promises will soon become a reality for the people of Ghana to see. The upcoming National Delegates Conference and subsequent presidential primaries must serve as a rallying point for our party and supporters nationwide to cast off the weight of 2024 defeat and re-energize our front for victory in the next election. 3 years may seem distant, but in political terms, it is around the corner, especially as the cost of living gap continues to widen. The campaign for 2028 begins now. Let us rally behind the leadership of the party, for in unity lies strength. We have in the past overcome even greater odds to secure victory. We have the capability and the resolve to rise above our current challenges, regain the trust of the Ghanaian people, and return to power. I wish the party a successful and impactful Congress. Amin Anta is speaking like a presidential candidate. Is he interested in the thing? Mohammed Amin, are you interested in running for presidential candidate for the MPP? But that's very well written, very well said, very well. He's writing like a scholar, like an economist that he is. A very useful Minister of Finance. I texted his people when I got the message, and they said he's out of town. And I told them that they should promise me an interview when he's back in town. So I'm sure that as soon as Amin Anta is back in town, we can have an interview with him. But kudos, I mean, some of the things you wrote were quite technical. We didn't get it. But generally, we understand what you're saying. And you are demonstrating a real understanding of the economy, coming as the immediate past Minister for Finance. Congratulations, Mohammed Amin Anta. what they call themselves, and they have a letterhead. They said, we write to bring to the attention of the government difficulties importers face in our attempts to secure US dollars for our business. As businessmen who import goods from abroad, our main trading currency is the US dollar, which we buy from home for our external transactions. And the cedi's recent stability against the dollar came as good news to importers and traders for obvious reasons. However, they say, just as we began to reveal in the stability, we are now confronted with another challenge of struggling to buy US dollars from the banks. I'm sure they mean the commercial banks. For some days now, our members have been left in limbo as many of the banks claim they don't have US dollars, a development which has compelled importers to resort to the black market for dollars at exorbitant rates. On paper, the cedi is supposed to have stabilized, and the dollar is supposed to be sold to us at 10 cedis 30 pesos. However, what is on paper is not the reality confronting us. The banks are not selling, and our members have had to resort to the black forex market to buy dollar as high as over 13 cedis for $1. This situation is not business friendly and not fair to us and the general population. If this is not checked to ensure the banks sell dollars to importers at the approved rate, prices of goods will continue to go up. We cannot understand why it is difficult to get dollars from the banks at approved rates when the Bank of Ghana has been given assurances. And by this statement, we want to appeal to the government and the Bank of Ghana to let what they announce on paper be the reality. How can the Bank of Ghana announce 10.3 cedis pesos to $1 and the banks won't make the dollar available because they don't believe in the rates? They're asking a question. Is it that the banks don't believe in the rates? I don't know. The disparity between the BOG's rate and the reality in the forex market is too wide and concerning. If the cedi has really stabilized as is being portrayed, then the Bank of Ghana should compel the banks to have confidence in its rate and sell dollars at same rates to traders. The present situation, they say, where the BOG only announces forex rates without the bank selling dollars is deeply worrying. And the statement is signed by Robert Tete Norte and Francis Oti Boateng, convener and secretary respectively. They insisted that we have to read this statement for them. So we have done justice to that. If you have the same experience or if you have a contrary experience, please share with us on your the Good Evening Ghana official. Send us a text on it. Mohamed Amin Anta, the immediate past finance minister, is telling the MPP something. What is he saying? It's related to the performance of the economy under the NDC, which many people applaud so far, that the NDC has done fantastic with the economy over the last 6 months. But Amin Anta has a message. On his letterhead as a member of parliament for Karaga constituency, he says that MPP must regroup quickly as NDC policies fail. Why does Mohamed Amin Anta, the former finance minister and also the former minister of state at energy, think that the NDC policy is failing and so MPP must regroup? This is what he says. He says, it is not unusual for a party defeated in elections 7 months ago to face the internal problems we are currently experiencing. This is a phase that will undoubtedly pass. The new patriotic party will rediscover its winning formula well ahead of the next general election. Unsurprisingly, our opponents, the NDC, have so far failed to demonstrate the competence needed to meet the expectations of the majority of Ghanaians. The goodwill they enjoyed at the outset of the administration is rapidly eroding under the weight of failing policies. Is it not too early for Amin to say that? Anyway, let's listen to him. Over the last 6 months, he says, we have seen taxes increased and extensions of taxes that were due to end this year, with the latest increase in the Dumsor levy coming into force today, July 16, 2025. The government has refused to heed the plea of Ghanaians, including transport associations, regarding the potential increase in transport fares due to the levy. This levy will worsen the cost of living for Ghanaians. We have also seen the dismissal of innocent Ghanaian youth from employment and heightened insecurity. It is deeply troubling to learn that a government that promised jobs will implement measures that takes jobs away from the very people who voted them into office. If you have recently lost your job, please know that the NDC has abandoned you and shows little concern for your welfare. The future MPP government will restore your jobs and bring back dignity to the young people of our country. Notwithstanding the artificial boost in the value of the cedi, prices for goods and services remain very high. Electricity tariffs have also doubled, resulting in a total of 17%. With only 10% rise in basic wages, Ghanaians can no longer rely on their disposable income to support their families. Not only are the false narratives about the economy they inherited being dismantled, but their attempts to win the sympathy of the people of Ghana through propagandist economic figures is also crumbling before their very eyes. Despite the denial by the governor of the Bank of Ghana regarding the intervention in the forex market, the International Monetary Fund's latest staff report revealed that the bank intervened with 1.4 billion in the first quarter of 2025. This confirms our assertion that the intervention was supported by international foreign reserves accumulated by the previous MPP government. Additionally, the large accumulation of non-existent payables used to generate a high primary fiscal deficit for 2024